I'm the dude. So that's what you call me.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah, not since I was 10.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Come out to the coast. We get together, have a few laughs.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Can I return it if it doesn't fit?
It always fits. Eventually.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Mingle. We are on our 10th episode, which is sort of great to believe. 10 episodes, Caveman. We've done something.
Yeah, I can't believe up to 10 now.
I know, it's
double
really
digits.
exciting. It's crazy. We kind of can't look back now, because if we'd done 10, then we can easily do 65 more.
Well, and for our 10th episode, we are doing The Batman.
The Batman!
Batman!
Our Pats. Wait.
Oh, wait. But we're not doing 66 Batman.
No, we're not doing 66 Batman. We are doing the most recent Batman film to come out, which it came out in 2022. It was one of the first big movies, I think, to kind of come out to help revitalize theaters post-COVID. I remember it's one of the first movies, not one of the first, I think the first movie we went back to see post-COVID was Shang-Chi. This film is a little divisive, I think. I think a lot of fans either really liked it or really hated it. There wasn't a whole lot in between, but I, to the fucking, love this movie. I loved it from the second I sat my ass in that theater and watched the whole thing. I loved it from the moment that Matt Reeves released this weird, like, red and black intro. It was like a test footage that he filmed of Robert Pattinson way back in the day.
Wow, yeah, that was one of the first things we ever saw.
Yeah.
Before the teaser trailer.
Before anything, we saw that. And I was like, okay, I'm in here. So, fuck yeah, The Batman, our Pats. I am here for it.
This is now the 12th Batman movie to be released in theaters.
Which is crazy. We love our Batman.
I'm not counting anything animated as far as animated series or all the other animated television series that have been released. There are even some Batman animated movies or shows, I should say, in Japan.
Yeah.
And so we're not counting any of that. This is just theatrically released in America, which includes Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which was released in theaters, and also Lego Batman. Yeah, all the Batman. I'm counting BVS because it was essentially
It is a Batman movie.
It is a Batman movie.
His name is in the title.
But I am not counting Justice League.
Or The Flash.
Or the Flash. Or
nobody should count The Flash for anything.
Or the
Justice League.
Yeah, either that or the Snyder Cut not being counted. It's not his movie. Anyway, but that doesn't matter. 12th Batman movie. I just thought that was interesting that we're on number 12, and we're going to get a part 2 of this movie next year.
Eventually?
Yeah. It was originally supposed to come out in 2025, but Superman is also coming out that year, and I think they wanted to separate them a little bit.
So we're not getting it until 2026 then?
I believe so.
So that's 2 years from now.
2 years from now. It's a bit of a wait. If it comes
too
sooner,
goddamn long, honestly. I want the sequel, and I want it so badly. But honestly, if we never got a sequel to this Batman, this still might be one of my, like, top 3 favorite Batman movies of all time. I know I only have 12 to choose from, and at least half of them are kind of like, eh?
Sure, half of them are good.
Half of them are good, and the other half are...
Tim Burton's Batman, Nolan's Batman.
But yeah,
there's a lot to be said about the 66 movie.
It is fun and very cheesy.
It's a fun, wacky time.
But go ahead.
Wow. However, we are watching, or we have watched, and we are going to talk about The Batman.
The Batman.
It was directed by Matt Reeves, who, if you are into the last 2 Planet of the Apes movies.
I love that trilogy of films. I'm not a big fan of, like, the 60s, 70s Planet of the Apes.
The first one is fine.
Yeah, they're all a little cheesy, and they were all before my time, and I just kind of never cared. But I got roped into Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I loved every second of all 3 of those trilogies. Those trilogies make me cry so goddamn hard. And it's great. They're absolutely excellent. They should definitely be checked out.
He also directed Cloverfield.
Which was a surprisingly good film. I mean, not surprisingly, but kind of, yeah. It was a found footage movie.
Right.
But going into it, I kind of had no hopes for it. But walking out of it, I was like, hell yeah, that movie was fun.
10 Cloverfield Lane was not directed by Matt Reeves, but a really good sequel to that movie, if anybody out there hasn't watched it. He also did the American remake of Let Me In. Well,
which I didn't see.
I think Let the Right One In is what it was the original title. Anyway, it was fine compared to the original. The original is better.
Vampires, woo!
But it was also written by Matt Reeves with the help of Peter Craig, it's like a hit and miss with him. He did Top Gun Maverick, which is essentially a retelling of A New Hope.
It is. It is totally just A New Hope adjacent.
Yeah, just that instead of X-Wings, it's jets. However, he did write Bad Boys for Life, which was god-awful. And the last two Hunger Game movies, which were awful. However, he did write The Town that Ben Affleck directed. Really good movie.
Never saw it.
Another good movie for another suggestion from Caveman for people out there who may not gotten to that one. Maggie and I love this next guy, the composer.
Oh my God. I even wrote in my notes that I needed to rant about one Mr. Michael motherfucking Giacchino.
Well, then I'm going to...
The GOAT!
I'm going to pass this podcast right over to Maggie and let her just blush over Michael Giacchino's
Just
work.
off the top of my head, the man has composed Medal of Honor Frontline, which is how I discovered him. He composed Lost for all 6 years, which, I mean, take or leave the series as it is, but the music was flawless. He did The Incredibles. He has done Doctor Strange. He has done the MCU Spider-Man movies. He has done Up, for fuck's sake. I mean, he wrote the Up theme. Like, come on, guys. He directed Werewolf by Midnight for Disney Plus, which is another MCU project. He did Rogue One, which is... And I know you guys are going to come for me for this, but it is on par, if not better, than anything John Williams has done since the Return of the Jedi when it comes to Star Wars. Michael Giacchino is one of the greatest modern composers that we have out there these days. That guy is so fucking good. He did all the Star Trek films. Like, oh my God. His music is so incredible. And unlike John Williams, when you're listening to, like, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, you also kind of can hear some, like, E.T. and, like, Star Wars in it. Michael Giacchino, for the most part, keeps his scores
very
like,
separate from each other.
Separate and well done, and the only thing that you can kind of connect from one to the other is usually, like, sad piano in the background. Like, you hear that sad piano in...
Super 8.
Super 8. Yeah, so you can hear, like, sad piano in, like, Super 8 that you also hear in, like, Jurassic World, which you also can hear in Lost. Like, there's some sad piano tunes, but for the most part, he doesn't recycle his stuff like a lot of people do. This guy is charming. He's funny. He is incredibly well-loved by, like, all of the industry. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him. He is just phenomenal. Like, he is up there with Hans Zimmer. I often say that Michael Giacchino is my favorite film composer, but, like, Hans Zimmer exists, and Hans Zimmer is perfect. But, like, man, motherfucking Michael Giacchino, that guy is the GOAT. He's got Oscars. He's gonna EGOT one day. I love him, and his score for the Batman is so creepy. It is so good. And, yeah, I just love every second of this score. That weirdly, it was like my most listened to album in 2022, which I still don't know how that happened, but according to my Apple Music, it did. I love that guy. Rant ended.
Some of the music actually reminds me not Batman's main theme, but the music that's more really subtle and in the background, especially when they are in dark rooms investigating things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the really slow scenes where they're just like quietly searching things with their flashlights, or finding a cage full of bats, or reading a serial killer's like mementos, or whatever you want to call it. But the music that he uses in the background always creeps me out, because it sounds like the same music that I've heard from Jonathan Glazer's Under the Skin. That music was done by Mika Levy, who also did the music for Jackie and the most recent Zone of Interest, which also has an incredible score. But yeah, Michael Giacchino, amazing composer, amazing director. I can't wait to watch another. It doesn't have to be Marvel. Just I want to see another directed film from him.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Werewolf by Night was a very well done little like hours short. It was funny. It was dark. It was twisted. Weirdly, the black and white version was a lot better than the in color version when they released it.
Absolutely, the black and white is
It was
so good.
funnier than I expected it to be, and
Yeah,
like
it had great humor, but not. They weren't quips.
No, it
the
was
way Tony Stark
yeah.
throws out lines.
It was like dark and bloody and fun and happy, and like I wholeheartedly recommend it if you haven't. I mean, if you're a Marvel fan, you've seen it. If you're not and you want just something that's like good and spooky, definitely check out Werewolf by Midnight. It is Werewolf by Night because it is just so much fun, and I really hope we get to see more of him. I would love to see him and Moon Knight interact with each other.
Almost like DC's Dark Universe. If Marvel had a Dark Universe, do like Blade.
Yeah, though all those characters together would be fantastic because I love my babies. Another super fun thing about Michael Giacchino is that most of his soundtracks are titled with puns, and a lot of the puns tend to repeat. In fact, most of his soundtracks have a world's worst blank in them. So, like, one of the ones from Rogue One was like world's worst vacation spot. And like, yeah, they're all really, really funny and really clever. So if you love the guy, if you like his music, like dig in and start checking him out because he is a delight.
I know in the past episodes of our podcast, we don't really talk about cinematography too much as far as like who the director of photography is and what their other work. But the cinematography in this movie is absolutely beautiful. Not just the blacks and the reds, but also, like, just for instance, I know it's later in the film, but just to throw it out there, I believe it's a sunset while Batman and Catwoman are on the building, just having a really
that's so good
dramatic conversation.
Actually, thanks to the trivia section on IMDb, which, by the way, the trivia section for this movie took me about an hour and a half to read because there were so many little tidbits of trivia on there. That construction site where the bat signal is, all of those scenes were filmed on the volume.
Oh.
Yeah, which you know, doesn't take anything away from the cinematography of it because it still has to be like programmed and figured out.
Well, yeah.
But it just kind of adds to that like rich beauty of it and the sort of slight realism and that eternal sunrise. Like, yeah, I love it. The cinematography in this movie is spectacular.
I mean, the volume does offer a lot of help in a shot like that. I'm sure, you know,
it's like an
it's a lot of
eternal
dialogue.
light.
It's a lot of dialogue, and I could see a scene like that taking quite a while to film.
And you're not going to keep that light for too long.
That light looks so beautiful just the way it is, and you could have done something where maybe it got a little brighter as it went, but...
This movie is very dark. This movie is so dark that we opted to not watch it on our like big living room TV because we kind of have a glare issue with the window that we sit in front of. So we watched it in our bedroom on a smaller TV, but our bedroom is darker. And then I have one of those like sunset lamps that you see all over Amazon for like $15. Get one. They're worth it. They're a lot of fun. But I set it to like that bright red, rich red and pointed it up at the ceiling. So it really helped with the ambiance this time.
Writing these notes with red light, though, was a little weird.
It was tricky. My eyes hurt after a while. Yeah, for sure.
But the director of photography was done by Greig Fraser, who has also worked on, and no surprise with the way this movie looked, he was the director of photography for Dune Parts 1 and 2. Which,
honestly, is incredible because the cinematography of the Dunes is one of my favorite things about those two movies. They are great films, but goddamn, the cinematography in it is impressive.
He must have a good relationship with Gareth Edwards because so far he's done Rogue One and The Creator.
The cinematography was the best part of The Creator. Nothing else was good about that film, except for the special effects. The special effects and the cinematography were the only two things that were good about that film.
You're right. He has also done the cinematography for The Mandalorian.
Oh, dang. So he knows how to work with the volume.
That's right. And one of the earlier films that I saw him do was for Zero Dark 30, which was also very dark.
I didn't see that one.
It's okay. It's a really good movie. But
More
you don't
movies
need to...
than me are kind of like...
I know. It's a really good movie, but you don't have to watch it.
So one of the biggest...
It's not on this list.
It's not good. One of the biggest complaints that I heard from a lot of people about the Batman was just how dark it was. Unnecessarily dark, too hard to see. And while there is kind of a trend in movies and TV shows lately that like things are too dark because, oh, this scene wouldn't have lighting in it. That's not real. And it's like, well, if you had lighting in it, nobody would question it. Like,
I guess this comes down to a question of, the director wants it to be dark because Batman works in the dark.
Which is why I like the darkness of this
And a lot
film.
when they film day for night, it doesn't always look good. The one director who recently has really figured out a good way to do day for night is Jordan Peele. He did it for Nope. His team came up with a really cool way of doing day for night scenes without it looking terrible.
Without it looking like there's just a blue tint.
filter.
Like, you can tell it's a
Yeah.
sunny day, but
Yeah.
there's a blue filter on the
It
camera.
looks awful.
That drives me crazy.
So it's either you can't see anything or everything looks really blue. I think the night scenes personally worked for me. If Christopher Nolan can drown out his audio and be called a genius for doing it, then Matt Reeves can make the screen a little dark.
And still be considered a genius? Yeah, I know. I agree with you. Like,
people love Christopher Nolan, and a lot of times you can't hear any dialogue that's on the...
which is something he does on purpose.
Right.
So, yeah,
because
why
he wants
can't...
it to be more real. He wants it to seem like you are there in the ship. I'm using Interstellar as an example. We said this in our podcast on that episode. But he wants it to be like you're in that ship with those people. Are you going to actually hear what they're saying as the ship is like being rattled around? And the answer is no. So he drowns them out. Why the music also has to drown everything out, I'm not sure. If that could be said about audio, which to me is half of the movie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, visuals and audio.
Audio make up a lot
the
of
movie.
what you see and hear. That's what a movie kind of is.
Yeah, it can't have one without the other. Silent film era again.
Right. And if it's just a black screen with no sound, then, nobody's... What's the point?
Yeah, what are we even watching?
Right.
No, I agree with you. I think that, especially I thought that Game of Thrones, the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones and the House of the Dragon get a lot of guff for it being too dark. And I feel like if they lit those scenes and just didn't explain it, I don't think the fantasy nerds are going to be upset by it. Like, oh no, all those candles couldn't produce that light. Like, who the hell cares? It's a TV show. When it comes to a Batman movie, though, that shit needs to be dark. It needs to be creepy. That is a man wearing all black, hiding in the shadows. It should not be neon and fantastical, Joel Schumacher. One of the best things about Batman the Animated Series is that it was drawn on black paper. Like, they started with darkness and then brought in the light. And I feel like that was done for the Batman too, and I think it is well worth it. Yeah, you can't watch it on a sunny day unless you take some, measures to prevent it, but still. I love the idea that Batman hides in the dark and makes slow steps out to it. Like, that's so fucking cool. Every time it's like pitch black and you just hear his footsteps, man, that's haunting. And that's what Batman should be.
The Batman. When a sadistic serial killer begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement. Starring Robert Pattinson.
Oh my God.
Zoe Kravitz.
Ugh, mommy, step on my throat.
Jeffrey Wright.
Delicious.
Colin Farrell. Paul Dano.
Ew.
John Turturro.
Oh my God.
Andy Serkis.
Daddy.
And Peter Sarsgaard.
Peter Sarsgaard. What a dork. I love him so much.
It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. However, didn't win any of them.
I'm not shocked by that. They're only going to give Batman an Oscar for like the Joker, and that's it.
And that was...
Well, Heath Ledger won it because he died.
Yeah,
And then Joaquin Phoenix won it, which is technically not a Batman movie, but Bruce Wayne is in it. Pearls. So it all kind of depends. But, like, The Batman was not going to win Oscars, but, like, it made a shit ton of money. So take that, Oscars.
It did win 38 awards from other award shows. I say shows, but they're not shows. They're very private and they're not aired, but they're like really
prestigious, important.
Yeah,
or smaller.
They're smaller, and you're just never going to see something like that televised.
But, sometimes doing art isn't about the rewards. Sometimes it's about creating one of the best fucking Batman movies to ever exist. Fight me.
Well, it did get an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 87% audience score. So I feel
that's a solid B.
Yeah,
for bats.
For Batman.
So this movie starts with two great things that kind of stretch throughout the entirety of the Batman. It starts with the song Ave Maria, which is a song that, although I am not myself religious, I find to be a very beautiful song. It's usually kind of considered a Christmas song. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like, you get the right person singing that song and it'll bring you to tears. You get the wrong person singing that song and it's Paul Dano in the jail later on in the movie.
Boy.
And it starts with a kind of first-person point of view shot, a POV shot. And this movie continues with excellent POVs throughout the entire film, from the Riddler, from the Batman, from kind of like everybody gets their own POV shot. And they are all incredibly well done. But we are introduced to the Riddler by his stalking of the mayor, who is his first victim. And yeah, that motherfucker's creepy. This is not your Jim Carrey Riddler who's dancing around in a green suit. Like, this guy is fucking gross and creepy.
I was just going to say, if you're used to a lighter tone type of Batman movie, the first part of this movie of his POV of
Like,
spying,
yeah,
and
heavy breathing and
then him, the mayor moving out of the way, and you just see the figure standing behind him.
So creepy. Oh, the use of like people appearing in and out of shadows in this film. Again, it's a Batman movie. It should be there, but it's so good and overlooked.
Yeah, but it definitely sets the tone for the entire movie. Just that first bit with the mayor.
You
being
know that you're
killed.
in for like a creepy kind of gory time, and I was here for it instantly.
I also had to look up the English translation to Ave Maria, just to get an idea of
What it's about?
what it's about. I've never looked it up before. Beautiful song in a language I don't understand, so I had to find out, maybe because like I said before, I like discovering why directors choose certain music in their films that apart from the score. So Ave Maria, I listen to a maiden's prayer, for thou canst hear amid the wild. 'Tis thou canst save me amid despair. We slumber safely till the morrow, though even by men outcast reviled. O maiden, see a maiden's sorrow. O mother, hear a suppliant child.
Interesting. I wonder why it's considered a religious song. Or like a Christmas song.
I think it's a prayer to Mary.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess she's kind of religious.
She is. It's true. I've been told that
I've been told.
that the Virgin Mary is a religious figure.
I am born of two lapsed Catholics. I do know something about the Virgin Mary.
To me, it's a prayer to a higher power to save you.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what I got from it. That it's essentially just just like Batman. You look up at the sky and you ask
hoping that
you're
somebody's
hoping
going to
that
come save you.
Especially if you're in trouble. This film seems to be based off of a lot of Batman. They definitely pulled and were inspired. Obviously, when you're making a Batman movie, you need to be inspired by
comics.
Batman. But the connections that I was able to figure out on my own, because I'm cool like that, it's definitely got some year one in there. Oh, yeah. Everybody write these comic book titles down and look into them. It's worth it. These comic books were used in this movie for a reason. They are great pulls for the film. Obviously, the director and writer did not do a one-to-one copy of any of the thing. They pulled parts out.
They pulled parts and created their own story, which is what they do in
we've got year one.
Movies.
It's a very new Batman, still figuring things out. You got The Long Halloween, which deals a lot with Falcone taking over Gotham by essentially controlling the police. You've got Batman Hush, which deals with Riddler, similar Riddler storyline in it. Not too similar, because they also, for the Riddler himself, they pulled a lot from the Zodiac Killer.
Yes, they did.
A lot.
Which, I mean, the Zodiac Killer
The way
is
he
one...
dressed, the way he talked.
Yeah. It's one of the creepiest, like, unsolved serial killer stories that we have out there. And I'm not big on true crime the way that a lot of women tend to be. I personally can't listen to that shit at all. But if you can, good for you. But the Zodiac Killer is one of the creepier stories that exists out there, and, unsolved,
What
which makes it even creepier.
I believe they are like, I'm not going to give it a percentage. They have a feeling
Yeah, they were like,
that they caught the
know.
guy. They have a feeling they caught the guy.
But they don't know for sure. The movie starts with the murder of the mayor and the aftermath of that. But it goes into once the mayor is murdered, which is fun to say.
Murdered mayor.
The murdered mayor murdered. once that happens, we are first introduced to Pattinson, Batman, played by Robert Pattinson, who, like, look, I fucking hate the Twilight movies. I fucking hate the Twilight books. That is a rant for another day. Robert Pattinson was just a man that existed on another level for me, but then he started to do, like, weird little indie movies and do, like, fun little weird quirky things, and he slowly got in under my skin, and now he's an actor that I just think is phenomenal, and I adore him. He's a very handsome man. He's not my cup of tea, but he's a very handsome man. But him in the Batman suit, we could talk, is all I'm saying. But we're introduced to Batman, and one of the first things we realize about this particular Bats is that he uses fear as kind of a deterrent against crime. You see 3 crimes happening kind of at the same time. You see a bank being vandalized by a bunch of people with, spray paint. You see a kind of like low life in a drop mask, which is like the main drug that they use in Gotham City, holding up a convenience store or a bodega. And then you see this gang who I don't know if they're like followers of the Joker or of like any of the main Batman villains, but they're all their faces are kind of painted with like white skeletal makeup. And they are basically stalking this dude who's just trying to get off the subway and go home, and they're going to go kick his ass. And this is very apparent. In the process of all of 3 of these scenes, happening, each and every villain sees the bat signal. And then when they see the bat signal, they then immediately turn and look to the nearest space that is closest to them that is pitch black, that they don't know what's hiding in it. So to them, Batman's hiding in that darkness, waiting to come get them for their crimes. But the thing is, vandalism, it's a crime, but it's like kind of, especially of a bank, it's like kind of a victimless crime. Like, it's like somebody's just gonna have to clean it, and that's the end of that. The bodega getting robbed, that sucks, but it was not violent, and then the guy immediately got hit by a car, which is sort of his retribution. The gang going to beat up the gentleman on the subway, they see the bat signal, and they're like, oh, whatever, it's fine. And then here comes Bats. In that suit with the guns, that's also the bat symbol, which supposedly were the guns that killed his parents, which I love, which he turned into knives because guns are bad in Batman's era. That's really cool. And then he proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of every single last one of them, and it is awesome. That is the kind of Batman stuff I'm here for. Watching that man just straight up fucking ruin bodies. Not killing them, but definitely leaving them with a permanent limp. And I'm here for that. And then he whispers the internal line of, I'm vengeance.
I'm vengeance.
Which, sploosh. Here for it completely. But the interesting thing about this whole scene is that he comes out, beats the shit out of these 8 to 12 guys. And the victim, who was saved from his own ass kicking, is so afraid of Batman because all that Gotham City knows is that Batman is like a vigilante who does just as much bad as he does good. Like, they don't know the hope of Batman yet. They don't know yet. This whole movie is about Gotham City. I mean, it's about a lot of things, but it's about Gotham and the police and the city and even Batman himself coming to terms with Batman not being just another ass kicker out there causing violence and pain and vengeance, but he's here to be a symbol of hope and good for the city. He wants to save and bring forth good things for his city. And, but yeah, at the beginning of this, nobody knows that, and they're all afraid of him, and I really love that juxtaposition.
This Batman movie is among a lot of people's favorite. Not everybody's, but some. On one hand, he seems to be a really good detective. I know, so in movies past...
I have thoughts about this.
I know. In movies past, Batman has never been portrayed as a really, really good detective.
No, it's really in like the cartoons and the comic books that he is
the
world's
video
best
games.
detective.
I mean, the video games. It's fun because it's a video game and it makes you be a detective to find the clues and to go to the next thing. This this movie it finally felt like we actually get a really fun detective who, as far as like actually showing us some detective work on screen. Yes, there's the whole thing with him not knowing Spanish very well.
Which, you know, can be... Okay, here's my thought process. He is 2 years into being Batman.
That was going to be my same
Yeah.
argument.
He is baby Bats.
He is not
Bat
the
Baby.
world's greatest detective yet.
But he's getting there. He is able to figure out riddles very quickly. So he's a very clever man. This Bruce Wayne, this Batman, is very smart. Yeah, he doesn't know what, like, a carpet tucker is. But fucking before this movie, I didn't either, and I am not rich. Like, there are certain things you just don't know. I don't speak Spanish. I speak limited German at best. So I also wouldn't understand the la and L, rada, alada. I still don't understand L versus la. There are things you don't know, but he learns them. And everything that you learn in life, you take forward as, you know, your education and as your cleverness. And so, yeah, we see the beginnings of the world's greatest detective, but he's not there yet because he is baby Batman. He's getting there.
I think Batman, one of his biggest strengths, besides being super rich, is obviously his detective work. I think he's really good about retaining information and being able to recall information really fast.
Yeah, like the Rolodex in his head spins faster than anybody's.
So this being a year one Batman, I think the director said that he's been on the job for 2 years. Yeah, he's not the greatest detective yet. Batman does, you know, like if you want to watch the greatest detective version of Batman, watch the animated series.
Oh, man.
Or play the video games.
Yeah.
The Arkham trilogy.
Which,
Batman.
quick shout out to the best Batman to ever exist, Kevin Conroy. May he rest in peace. That man was our Batman. I mean, he was the Batman that we grew up with, going home every single day and watching Batman, the animated series, on the WB. Like, it was always on before Animaniacs. Like, that Batman is the one true Batman. The one who, like, Kevin Conroy was spectacular in that role. And I know I speak for both Caveman and myself to say that the morning that we woke up and found out he died was a rough morning because we lost a hero that day. Adam West, an incredible Batman, he was one of the first people to do it. His take on Batman is so fun and so goofy. He was wonderful. Michael Keaton was a great and very, like, murderous Batman, but I love him all the same. You know, I loved seeing him, and he was the best part of The Flash. He was the only good thing about The Flash. You know, George Clooney and Val Kilmer were there at one point, too. And then Christian Bale is a phenomenal Batman. Ben Affleck was a better Bruce Wayne than he was a Batman, but that could be reserved for another conversation. But ultimately, Robert Pattinson does a spectacular job too. But man, Kevin Conroy, the one true Batman, let's give it up quickly to him because he was the best.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
It's been a while since I've watched like all of these Batman movies, but I've watched them all many times. And one thing alongside having a Batman as a great detective is a Batman who refuses to kill. And
yes.
I believe there are only a few Batmen in theatrical history that have not killed. I'm pretty sure in the 66 Batman movie, I don't think Adam West's character kills anybody.
No, because I don't think that... I mean, that's the whole thing about the 66 Batman is it's such a cartoon and it's such a... It was well before even, like, the dark backstory of Bruce Wayne even kind of came in. So it's light and bubbly and bubblegum and
so,
fun.
of course, you wouldn't have Batman
Batman's not
people.
going to murder anybody.
Right. But he's still on the list for theatrical Batman who hasn't killed.
He absolutely is. Michael Keaton straight up murdered a lot of people.
He did.
Ben Affleck straight up murdered a lot of people.
I'm pretty sure even Val Kilmer and George Clooney, with some goons, have essentially caused the deaths of some villains.
Yeah, you see some of these goons get beat up, and you're like, I don't know if that guy's trachea has survived. Like, and...
Technically, a lot of people, and there's some other scenes in Val Kilmer's movie, but I believe a lot of people point at the scene where he throws all of Two-Face's coins, or has a bunch of coins, throws them in the air. Two-Face is looking for his own, jumps for them and falls into a vat of acid.
Yeah, no, that's
Even though he
pretty
didn't
brutal.
pull a trigger and shoot him in the head or anything, he still caused the death of a character.
I'm pretty sure that the video game Batman has inadvertently murdered a lot of people too, because
sure
some of
video
those
games.
some of those end moves are pretty fucking brutal. Like that guy is going to be in a wheelchair on a ventilator for the rest of his life, which ooh,
It's not killing.
does he deserve it? I don't know.
So Adam West, Kevin Conroy, as far as Mask of the Phantasm goes,
Christian Bale?
I think Christian Bale may have
I mean,
inadvertently, like,
he kind of killed Ra's al Ghul, right? Because Ra's al Ghul was on the train. It's
I don't
been
have to
so
save
long,
you, or I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
I think it's not Batman Begins, but I think some things have been said about the other two movies. But
Yeah.
But
this
all
Batman
all
is-
this to say that Robert Pattinson's Batman, after such a murderous Ben
Rampage.
Affleck Batman, it was nice to go back to a Batman that doesn't kill. It's a great detective. He has some new, fun, flashy gadgets, but his gadgets are very practical. Instead of having like instead of his cape turning into a glider,
Yeah.
it turns into a wingsuit, and which makes me because
Oh, I love that scene so much.
before, no wonder so much time passed between when Batman was at the funeral for the mayor, and then the car crashes through.
Oh yeah, and then like
and Robert Pattinson has to
could
leave.
leave, and
So
then
much time goes by.
so many
'Cause I think-
hours.
He has to go home, put on the bat suit, put on the eye makeup, making sure that I don't know how much preparation he had for that wingsuit, but to pack a parachute and a wingsuit into your cape before heading back to the cathedral.
Is Batman's like superpower foresight? Because how did he know?
He always has the right tool on him.
He
every
always has
time.
the right tool. He's Batman.
When is Batman, while he's in Gotham, going to be attacked by a shark? Who knows? But
He's
he
got
has
bat repellent.
he has the shark repellent.
He's got the bat shark repellent. I love the use of the dark eye makeup in this movie, and I think that was a problem that a lot of people have kind of like jokingly made fun of for years. Is that Batman always wears like this black eye makeup around his mask to help kind of like make everything look darker and to, shade it in and all that, blah, blah, blah. And the fact that, most Batmen would take off their cowl and then that makeup just is magically gone always bothered a lot of people, and it became kind of a joke. So I really appreciate that Matt Reeves wanted that to be seen. He wanted you to see the fact that underneath that cowl it is sweaty and his makeup's kind of like grimy after a while and messed up. I loved all those moments of our emo fucking Batman. I love emo Batman because let's really be honest here, guys. Batman's story is a straight up emo ass story for sure. And the fact that people want their Batman to have suffered through all of the things and the pearls and everything to then be like lighthearted and happy in the end. Come on, guys. The man needs some fucking therapy. He's been through some trauma. And this Batman is still processing the death of his parents, and he's still trying to use this whole Batman thing as a therapy. He is a fucked up man doing a fucked up thing. And I like the black eye makeup, and I like the emo Batman, so come at me, nerds.
So other than Michael Giacchino's score and Ave Maria, the other track to show up, I think, a couple times in the film was Nirvana's Something in the Way.
Which, I'm not the biggest Nirvana fan, but that's a beautiful song.
It's a beautiful song, and of course, just like Ave Maria,
Had to find out.
Gotta find out. This one was a little tougher, and I think may have been used just because it fit the mood.
I actually know why it was used.
Ooh, well, let me read the
IMDb.
lyrics real fast, and then we'll have IMDb tell us what's so important, or what the significance of the song is. So, essentially, the lyrics go, underneath the bridge, tarp has sprung a leak, and the animals I've trapped have all become my pets. And I'm living off of grass and the drippings from the ceiling. It's okay to eat fish, because they don't have any feelings. And then a lot of repetitive Something in the Way is sung.
So, apparently Matt Reeves, when he was writing this script, was listening to a lot of Nirvana for like the first half of it. and he kind of liked the idea of Bruce Wayne being kind of more of a Kurt Cobain-esque recluse than like the playboy that you see. Because in the beginning of this movie, as you progress through this film, you see that Bruce Wayne is not a healthy man. He doesn't really seem to eat well. He's not taking care of himself. He doesn't care if he dies. Like, this man is not in this for himself, and he's a recluse. He doesn't want to be known or seen by the city. He doesn't like the fame that he's received, very much in the way that Kurt Cobain was not a fan of being famous for his music. Like, he wanted to put out music, but he didn't like the fame side of it. And so he kind of connected, Matt Reeves in his head connected those two things, a reclusive Batman and a reclusive, Kurt Cobain. And I think that song stuck with him, which is, beautiful. I think it's a very well-used song. I like the use of it both at the beginning and the end, because I think they've got different, even though it's the same song, somehow, like, the tone and the usage is different, because you see Batman at the beginning, who is just in the shadows, and he doesn't care about what he's doing. He just needs to do it because this is his therapy, and this is how he processes the death of his family. Whereas Batman at the end is, like, realizing that he needs to be a symbol of hope and good for the city. So I liked the kind of the usage of that song for both of those parts of him. But yeah, that's why. He also wrote it with Robert Pattinson in mind, but he didn't think he would get Robert Pattinson to actually play this role. So, but unbeknownst to him, Robert Pattinson was at the same time being like, it'd kind of be fun to be a Batman, like, but that'll never happen. And here we are.
I think there's a moment where Batman goes into Falcone's club, and the gentlemen that open the door are twins, or at least they look like they're twins.
Twins.
And I think this is based off of, I'm not sure, but there were always a couple of goons in Frank Miller's comics that remind me of those goons. I can't remember the name. He did it in Sin City. He also had a couple of goons in The Dark Knight Returns. But I can't remember the twin. I don't know if they're twins, but they were goons who had rhyming names.
So, again, going back to the trivia section, I can't quote it verbatim, but I think that was a nod to that. I vaguely remember seeing something about how, like, it was a nod to...
There are always goons that either have a rhyming name or they're twins, and they are always guarding a door or standing in front of the door. Frank Miller is one of the reasons why Batman is so dark.
Yeah.
He gave that vibe to Batman. Before that, Batman was more colorful, bright, which is why Batman 66 is so bright and colorful and goofy. And Batman comics were written different writers, artists, and just as the story progressed and evolved, Batman just got a little darker, and I attribute that a lot to Frank Miller, Tim Burton, and I know there were many other writers and especially artists who influenced a lot of what we know Batman as today.
Remember when we saw Batman's dick and everybody lost their minds? It was a part of the New 52, and you see Bruce Wayne in the Batcave, and he's like changing out of his costume, and you see like the silhouette of the bat penis. And, like, people were so angry about that they had to... I don't think they recalled all of those issues, but they, like, reissued it.
Anything that was printed.
Where, you couldn't see
I think I remember
the
hearing
bat
this on
pole.
a podcast, but...
It was... I've seen it. It was impressive, but still.
That's a pretty brave step to take to
Right?
show bat dick.
Show the bat balls? Like, come on,
Why?
guys.
It
was unnecessary, but they were like trying to be edgy and new. I don't know. That has nothing to do with this movie, but it is something I think about a lot.
Need to... Why?
You don't want to see the bat dick?
No. I don't care, because it's just a comic book. It's just
I'm
going to
Google it and show you after this
If
podcast.
I want to, I could draw my own Batman and put a big dick on him. Like, who cares if it's...
Yeah, that was a thing that happened once. Anyways, back to the movie. One of my few complaints about this film is that I don't like the Batcave being underneath Gotham City. This Batman lives in, Wayne Tower. Like at the top of Wayne Tower, he lives in this, like, sort of the top of this Gothic building. And in its own right, like, the inside of his home, when you see it, does not look lush and comfortable at all. It looks very, like, medieval and torturous, but he's Batman, so I'll give him a pass. But I don't necessarily like the Batcave being underneath the city, because I feel like sooner or later somebody's going to stumble into it. whether it's an unhoused person or an urban explorer or just some kids fucking around, they're gonna bump into this giant like subway platform that is underneath.
Yeah, because it's not even a
Wayne
Batcave.
Tower.
It's just a old subway.
Yeah, it's like kind of.
It's not being used. And there's how many entrances are there to
Yeah,
subways? That
which I get that if you're Batman, you close them all off. But I'm still saying it's not my favorite location of a Batcave. This Batcave is also kind of. You don't see a whole lot of it because there's so many close-ups of like Bats doing his work and Alfred being there and stuff. But like I don't know. I've always, whenever they put it underneath the city, I'm always like, oh, well, that doesn't seem very smart. But that's one of my few gripes about this film. Speaking of Alfred, can we talk about Andy motherfucking Serkis?
I appreciate a younger Alfred.
I do too.
Especially a younger Alfred that's not that much older than Bruce. Compared to Michael Caine and the actor who played in the four movies from 89 through the 90s, those Alfreds were much older. Even Alfred in the animated series was an older man.
Yes.
And it's nice to have an Alfred, because in the comics, especially newer comics, Alfred is the guy who trains Batman how to fight. And if you're being trained how to fight from a really old man...
Yeah, you're going to break him in half.
So having Andy Serkis is still an age, especially if you're thinking about maybe Bruce Wayne learning how to fight when he was 10, 15.
Yeah.
I mean, kids,
he's probably got
8-year-olds join karate. Why couldn't Bruce?
20, 25 years tops on him. Like, I think Batman in this movie is supposed to be like early, like late 20s, early 30s. So yeah, like, you know, Alfred's easily in his late 40s, early 50s. But he's clearly ex-military.
Yeah.
He refers to his time in the circus, which is slang for working for MI6, which is the like the fucking CIA of Britain. Like, this man he's in his own right extremely clever, very smart, very aware, very reactive, and yeah, like he might easily be my second favorite Alfred to the animated series Alfred, but just because that guy was the king of sass. Alfred was the sass queen, and I lived for him.
Watch Tim Burton's '89 Batman.
Yeah,
that Alfred's got a lot of sass.
Yeah, and he lost it over the years, and it was. I always find it weird that they kept that Alfred.
They left him. They just kind of, probably because he was getting older and he couldn't act. He couldn't be on set as long, but he was a really good Alfred. I liked seeing him, even though Tim Burton wasn't directing and the Batman constantly changed. It was nice to see. It was him and Commissioner Gordon that did all 4 films.
The Commissioner Gordon in those 4 films is also forgettable at best.
Absolutely forgettable. His performance is forgettable.
Yeah, it's like he's
not the worst Commissioner Gordon ever.
Easily.
Sorry, Commissioner Gordon, actor from the Batman '89 through the 90s.
We're not even
going to
look your name up.
There are far superior Alfreds, including, I think, one that you could compare to Andy Serkis as far as his level of military experience.
Jeremy Irons.
You know, Jeremy Irons had military experience, but also still a little bit of an older man.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more a younger guy teaching a younger Bruce Wayne how to fight, and that was from the TV show Gotham, which was first season really good.
Yeah, I think I watched the first
season,
episode and went nope.
After the first season, I dropped off, and I'm kind of glad I did. And then things
got squirrely on that series, from what I vaguely recollect.
I think people were enjoying this Alfred, this ex-military Alfred so much, they decided to make an Alfred TV show too, which I never saw. No. But I know it existed, and I hope people had fun watching it.
I don't know. It's on Max. Maybe you can watch it one day. One of the things that I think a lot of people bumped up against in this movie was the fact that this Bruce Wayne is kind of a dick to this Alfred, right? But if we kind of take a step back and look at what this particular Bruce Wayne is as a whole, which is a young man dealing with the tragic murder of his parents, who has not processed that grief or that trauma, who is using that grief and that trauma to then like fucking vigilante his way around the city, beating the shit out of people. He's probably got some issues, and he may not be the nicest person to those closest to him. He is hurting. And hurt people. So he lashes out at Alfred a couple times because in his sort of traumatized brain, yeah, he's aware that Alfred has been there his whole life, but he doesn't see what Alfred has done for him his whole life. And he doesn't see that until later on in the movie. I think that kind of his inability to see as Alfred as a father figure is something that keeps him from becoming the true Batman that he is, because he doesn't realize, he thinks he's grown up fatherless, but he doesn't realize that Alfred's been there the whole time. But Alfred, he knows this, and he accepts this. He accepts that Bruce is hurting. He accepts that Bruce is trying to do what he can to process his grief in his own crazy way, and he's going along with it. And I don't think that he's ever really truly upset by the, like, "you're not my father" line, or any of the other times that Bruce is super, like, catty to him about what Alfred has been in his life. You know, like, he accepts this lashing out and it doesn't bother him. He kind of understands it. And he keeps trying and he keeps helping, which is what parents do, you know? Sometimes your kid's an asshole to you and you just go, all right, I'm going to let that go. And I'm going to bring him berries and help him figure out this cipher code that a mass murderer has left him.
I love how into solving puzzles Alfred was too. How much he helped him.
He's still a father trying to, like, soothe and help his angry son, and, like, that kind of thought breaks me. And I appreciate that later on in the movie when Bruce thinks that something terrible has happened to Alfred, right? Alfred's been blown up by the Riddler. He's in the hospital. They don't know if he's going to be okay. Like, him being able to sit and realize the fear that he has over losing Alfred means that he actually truly loves Alfred, I think helps him become a better Batman. And I think that that's beautiful. A lot of people were like, oh, he's such a dick to Alfred. It's like, well, yeah, but he would be. Like, this Batman would be. This man needs a fucking hug.
He's an angsty kid who had an insane traumatic
and he's
childhood.
lashing out at his adopted father.
It's not like his parents died in a car accident.
No.
They were murdered in front of him.
Yeah, like, the kid's got some issues, but maybe it takes him a little bit to realize that, like, Alfred's been with him the whole time. Again, this goes back to he's a baby Batman and he doesn't know everything yet, including the strength that Alfred is for him, and he learns that in this movie.
Which is why I love the scene towards the closer to the end, not the very end. This is a very long movie.
Oh, so long.
But the scene where Alfred opens up the letter from the Riddler and gets blown back. Mm-hmm. When he's in the hospital, Bruce Wayne he wants to know if what he's learned about his father is true.
Yeah.
And essentially, Andy Serkis is like, I don't know if it's true or not, but I can tell you that the moment, from the night your parents were murdered till essentially now, I've been looking for the killer. I've been trying to solve their murder. It's not like he's essentially telling him, I don't know if that's how he died. I've been looking into it ever since it happened, and I still don't know. I don't know if we ever will know. It could have been that. It could have not. And I think once Bruce Wayne heard that, their bond,
it becomes so much
deeper.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one of the things I love most about Alfred is he is the surrogate mother and father to Bruce Wayne, and
it's a beautiful thing to see that connection.
Even if Bruce Wayne is through some parts of the movie treating Alfred poorly, it's like, what kid hasn't said something to their parents that just
it's kind of shitty.
Yeah, really shitty thing to say to a parent.
Sometimes you just fucking shrug it off and you bring him berries and you help him figure out a cipher.
Buy him an ice cream.
God, like I did with my kids today. So now that we've talked about Batman at length and we've talked about Alfred, let's talk about the Penguin.
Oh man.
Fucking Colin Farrell. I am so glad that Colin Farrell got out of his, like, partying days and his, like, crazy alcoholic days and his punching people in the face days.
He did a lot of that.
Yeah, like, he went full Irish on a lot of us, and like, I've always loved Colin Farrell as an actor, and he's always been a great actor, but there were some films there for a while that you're like, okay, all right, fucking Alexander the Great, that was something that happened once. But this man is a phenomenal actor, and he stepped back and he did a lot of, like, weird fucking movies and fun little indie films. And now he's willing to, like, go and be in a giant Batman movie, but be like, hell yeah, put me in 6 hours worth of makeup and a fat suit and everything to play a penguin that is probably the best penguin I've ever seen on screen.
And I've heard so much about, like, why do you get an actor like Colin Farrell,
who is so hot,
to put on all this makeup to make him look so ugly and so penguin?
But that's because you get the Colin Farrell can bring it.
You still get this amazing Colin Farrell performance. Like, they're like, well, why don't you just get an older actor that could? Because
who else could have done that role?
They're not Colin Farrell.
Like who else could have been the Penguin and been that sassy, funny, creepy, gross, evil? Like,
he's got so much
terrifying.
charisma.
Oh, so much charisma.
That's one of the things I love most about Colin Farrell is how much charisma he brings to the characters.
Yeah, even like under
the worst
pounds
movies.
and pounds of makeup, that man fucking oozes.
Even in Fright Night, the man had charisma.
I only saw Fright Night once, and I vaguely remember enjoying it, but I enjoyed it for David Tennant.
As far as remakes goes, it's fun.
David Tennant shirtless. The other cinematic Penguin that we've gotten was Danny DeVito in Batman Returns, and that I remember seeing that movie as a kid. I am not a big fan of that movie. I haven't seen it in years. Like years I have not seen that film because the Penguin scared the shit out of me. Growing up, I loved Batman with Michael Keaton. Man, I watched that movie all the time. I thought it was so fucking good and I loved it. Batman Returns, like I saw it in theater with my family. I was so terrified by that Penguin that I haven't really been able to watch it a lot since. With his weird flippers and his beak-like nose and his little waddle and the black tar and all of it.
Teeth and the black gunk that comes out of his mouth.
That movie terrified me as a child, so I did not enjoy that Penguin. It was a great performance, for sure, and Danny DeVito is a national treasure, but, like, meh. And then since then, I think they did Penguin on that Gotham show.
Yeah, he was in Gotham.
He was, like, half Penguin, half Joker.
Joker was a separate character.
Okay, yeah, I didn't pay any
He was
attention.
played like... They're both played by amazing actors.
But
the actor... Once again, if you haven't seen Gotham, just don't watch it.
I don't know, fucking Wikipedia the plot. But
the actor that plays Penguin in Gotham is really good, and I hope I get to see him in something else because I have not since that show, which kind of bums me out. Same thing with the actor who plays Joker in that Gotham show, also really good, has been in a few more things, but also like he's very Barry Keoghan kind of energy, which is funny since Barry Keoghan plays the Joker in this movie. Yeah.
Colin Farrell does a phenomenal job as this Penguin. And this Penguin, you can kind of tell that he probably got that nickname maybe because of the nose or maybe because of his size. Like, we're never really told why he is called the Penguin. But it doesn't matter because he's fucking creepy and he's fucking good. He feels like a proper mob boss. And I'm very excited for the show that's going to come out, the Penguin.
It looks good. The trailer impressed me enough that I want to watch it.
Yeah, and... like, I'm excited to see more of this character because they're, like, Colin Farrell puts so much depth into him that I'm excited to see more of him. I appreciate, too, that the only time we ever see this Penguin waddle is when he was tied up by Bruce and Commissioner Gordon.
His legs were chained or something.
Yeah, his legs are tied up, and they leave
no
him, and he
choice
sort of,
but to
like,
waddle.
waddles away. Just that little moment is so funny. This movie has a lot of surprisingly, like, funny bits that I think were unexpected, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but that was the funniest for me. But he does a great job, and he is delightfully terrifying. So, it's a Batman movie. We get the Riddler, we get the Penguin, and we also get Catwoman, which, coincidentally... Meow. This is the first Batman movie since Batman 66, the movie, that has had Catwoman, the Joker, the Penguin, and the Riddler
all at the same time
in a live action movie, which I think is hilarious because like the Batman 66 movie is so fun and goofy and wacky, and this is what it is.
Was this another homage to like having these specific villains?
Maybe not. I don't think that it was intentional. Like that they were like, we have to put these four in. I think that these four just sort of fit perfectly into the script.
They are the most recognizable.
I mean, yeah, they're the top of his,
other than
rogues
Joker
gallery.
and Two-Face, these four.
God, could you imagine like a Matt Reeves Two-Face?
We'll
be
get into
so
that.
fucking good.
We'll talk about that later. About the.
But Selena Kyle, Catwoman, is played by Zoe Kravitz, who like just fucking step on my neck and choke me, mother. Oh my god. That woman is so beautiful. She's such a good actress. She's so lithe and thin and cat-like in her own right. I love the fact that her nails are like long claws that are not like she doesn't have polish on them. They're just natural because they look so spooky. I love her and her corsets and her leather and oh my god, mama like. she's incredible in this film and absolutely stunning. And I think that her and Robert Pattinson have incredible chemistry because they've been friends forever. But like, oh my God, mommy and daddy, do what you want. Like,
I really, really like her, and in general the whole show. The TV remake of the movie High Fidelity.
Yeah, you talked about that at length. You loved that show. I never watched it.
It's so good.
And I've heard great things about it.
The music choices are amazing. I think she does a better job than John Cusack did.
Oh yeah, but
I think the
that's not
story's
surprising.
more interesting than the John Cusack version. I mean, obviously in a TV show format, having extra time to flesh out a story is usually, can be better than a movie, but just another show out there for everybody to, unfortunately, it did get canceled after one season.
Yeah.
People just weren't into it the way I was, so.
Well, you're
it
also
happened.
a giant vinyl nerd as we sit next to your massive and terrifying vinyl collection, so I'm not surprised you liked it so much. But Zoe Kravitz is one of those actresses that has been in a ton of stuff. She's phenomenal. She could be the next big thing, but I feel like she kind of is very choosy about her roles, and I love that.
Maybe.
Interestingly enough, she also played Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie.
Did she really?
She did, so this isn't even her first Catwoman.
I've only seen the Lego Batman movie once.
Which is such a shame, because I remember loving it.
I remember really liking it, but for whatever reason,
Yeah,
I
just haven't-
Of course, I haven't even watched like the regular Lego movie in a couple of years.
There's just so much out there. There's too much to watch sometimes.
I don't have the time.
But I adore Selena's character arc. I kind of find it very funny that like everything has to do with John Turturro just being a bad dad. And like this whole story is brought to you by John Turturro's a piece of shit because John Turturro. Okay, hold on. I actually wrote this down. So John Turturro plays Carmine Falcone.
Oh, not Jesus?
You don't fuck with the Jesus man.
You pull any of your crazy shit with us, you flash your piece out on the lanes, I'll take it away from you and stick it up your ass and pull the fucking trigger till it goes click.
Jesus.
You said it, man. Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
Falcone is Catwoman's dad. He kills the Riddler's dad. He also might have killed Batman's dad. And he kills Catwoman's mom. He is killed by the Riddler, which was kind of because Batman and Catwoman helped that happen.
Yes, they
Right.
did. Yeah, they brought him into the light.
And Catwoman watches him die and is totally fine with it, but Bats isn't, which I find interesting. But this whole movie, the plot of this entire movie, kind of like circles around the fact that Carmine Falcone's a piece of shit and is a terrible father. And I found that very interesting when I was rewatching the movie the other day. I was like, wait a minute, he has a hand in all of their lives. He fucked up all of their lives.
Talk about karma.
Yeah, right? And then in the end, he gets taken out and all of his secrets go with him, which I think is a wonderful thought.
I really like how he, right before he is shot to death, I like how he said, the moment I die, I'm taking all my secrets with
to the
me.
grave, yeah.
And Batman at the time was just like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think he was expecting prison or like negotiate,
Yeah,
trying
whatever it could have been.
down the line,
Yeah.
trying to, I'll get some information out of him later.
Yep.
And then he
Nope.
dies, and almost essentially, kind of in Batman's arms.
Mm-hmm.
Not really, but they're face to face when Falcone dies, and then you can just see Batman like, oh, fuck, he is going to the.
I'm never
he's
gonna know
taking
who
all
killed
his
my
secrets
parents.
to the grave.
Yeah. The last Batman character that I want to bring up, because it's the one that I love most in my heart, is
Probably
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, probably one of my favorite.
One of the best Gordons out there. I mean, I think only Gary Oldman can...
Gary Oldman was great. Unfortunately, J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons was supposed to be Commissioner Gordon for a second, and he got like hella ripped for it.
Well,
which, thank you.
Was that the movie he got ripped for?
Well, yeah, that's what he said. Like, he put it on Instagram that showed him just.
He was Commissioner Gordon in the Snyderverse.
Yeah, for 6 seconds,
and he was fine, and he was sometimes funny.
That could have been so much better.
They could have done
But
so much
all
better
of
with
the
an actor like
Snyderverse could have
J.K.
been so much
Simmons
better.
compared to what we get out of Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright, first of all, he's kind of the levity of this movie. He has some of the funniest lines. Secondly, I love how he calls Batman, like, man. He's like, come on, man, we got to get out of here. Got to get out of here, man. Like, man, we got to go. I adore the way that they talk to each other. I want to know how that Batman and Gordon met and how they became to trust each other, because at one point Gordon even says to him, "You're the only one I trust." In this movie, Gordon watches all of his friends and colleagues get taken out by get murdered and or taken out for being corrupted. He watches like the downfall of his world a little bit, and of his job, and of the people that he's looked up to, because all these people are awful, but he still stays strong to who he is and what his job as a cop is. He's just so good, and I love the chemistry he has with Robert Pattinson. I know that this isn't a buddy cop comedy, but I want a buddy cop comedy between Robert Pattinson and Jeffrey Wright, because I think it would be an absolute delight. I love every moment Gordon's on scene.
Yep.
The whole scene when they're in like the cage in the precinct after Batman gets blown up, and they're like having a very tense conversation, but the conversation is like, "You're gonna have to punch me and get out of this building." And so Batman punches him in the face, and later Gordon's like, "You could have pulled that punch," and Batman's like, "I did." I love them together so much.
Really subtle humor in the movie.
Yeah.
But
it comes a lot from
enough
Gordon.
that you can notice it. It's not like they're trying to like cover up the humor.
Oh my god, the thumb drive. First of all, so you've seen the movie. You've had to have if you're listening to this, and if you haven't, I mean, you should watch it. But if you don't, whatever. But the mayor has a thumb drive, little USB thumb drive that is not password, but like fingerprint protected. So the Riddler cuts off the mayor's thumb and leaves it in a car, and at one point Batman finds it and says the word thumb drive while holding up this detached thumb with this little keychain hard drive on it, and then he had to use the thumb to get into the drive. I just found that so gruesome but so funny, and Pattinson's line read of thumb drive just cracks me up.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright brought a lot of humor, levity, but also a really good detective in his own right. Commissioner Gordon, not commissioner yet.
No, he's a
very similar
captain?
to Gary Oldman.
Detective
Gordon.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think he's any higher than that yet. Very much like.
I mean, we see the commissioner get murdered, so that definitely leads the way.
There's a spot open. Such a good actor. The characters of Commissioner Gordon and Batman in this movie, especially while they are doing their detective work and finding clues, trying to catch the Riddler, really, really, I know you haven't seen it yet, but you will, because it's coming. This movie reminds me a lot of David Fincher's Seven.
Ew.
A lot of things do. But like this Batman movie, you've got Brad Pitt, who's kind of playing that, not a rookie detective, but he's
a younger man.
He's recently been he has recently joined the police department of this big city that he's working in. So he's new to the city. So in a way, kind of a rookie to the city, but still a smart, capable detective. And then you got Morgan Freeman, who's the older, very wise, educated, a veteran detective who's been around the block for decades. And the two of them are hunting down this serial killer who leaves clues and riddles. So they chase him around the city. When they get to the Riddler's apartment, the interior of his apartment is very similar to the interior of who they call John Doe.
So you're spoiling Seven for me.
No,
now
I'm
I
not.
don't have to watch it, right?
Yes, now you don't have to watch it at all, because now you know John Doe is killing people.
Oh, that damn John Doe.
Right. He's the one. He's the guy who did it. They even the part when Batman and Commissioner Gordon are going through Riddler's books, all the little notes he's written, things that he's a people watcher and observer, and he writes all this crazy psychopathic shit down in these notebooks. The John Doe from Seven does the same exact thing. He has all these composition looking books filed like on a big bookshelf, and it's just the same. Every time they open one of the books, it's just full of kind of people watching things. And I believe the Zodiac Killer did the same thing.
So that kind of worries me a little bit, because if you looked at my notebook that I've been using to write down notes for these movies in, it's like serial killer scribbled line for line, wall to wall, filled up, like insanity that only I can decipher. So I do worry a little bit about that because I was looking at the Riddler's handwriting in the Batman, and then I was looking at my own handwriting and went, nah, shit.
So after a few years of this podcast, we might have a bookshelf just full of composition books that look like they were scribbled down by a serial killer.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. So at the newly murdered mayor's funeral, we meet the new mayor, or mayor-elect.
I mean, she hasn't been elected. I mean, the mayor
She's
does.
running.
She's running for mayor.
I'm guessing maybe
the mayor dies before the election. I'm assuming she is elected because of that. But I guess had they elected the former mayor, there would have been a runoff election, and that just isn't neither here nor there.
But her name is Bella Real. Well, the first time I heard her say her name, I thought her name is Bella Royale. But it's
cheese.
It's spelled Real, and the A has a little accent on it. So I believe it is Bella Real.
That character is forgettable for me.
She's not on screen a lot, and she's kind of dumb. She steps out on stage and gets shot after she was told, if you step out on stage, you're going to get shot.
Yeah. I don't think she's dumb so much as she's just passionately clueless.
Well, she's trying to protect her city. It is being flooded, and but
she's trying to calm the people. She's doing what a mayor should do.
Sure.
Except that, she might have gotten shot for it, and then she did.
Right. That happens a lot later, but this is when we're going to a funeral. And you expect a funeral to be a little more subdued and not a lot of action.
Yeah.
Also, she interrupted... Actually, I don't know if she interrupted the actual conversation. She introduced herself right as Batman was kind of eavesdropping on a man talking to himself about how much he hated rich people and the government of Gotham because of something that happened with his daughter.
Yeah, his daughter was a drophead. And...
Yeah, didn't really go into it a lot, but obviously the daughter probably died or is not getting the help she needs. And this guy who is at the funeral but kind of...
he's there in form of protest.
He's got his head down and just kind of mumbling things to himself, and this draws Batman's attention.
Bruce Wayne's attention.
That's right, he is Bruce Wayne at the moment. The first time, I think, that you see him in public as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, because he's a recluse and he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Right, and I also like how this Batman pulled up instead of being all super flashy, like really, really flashy, the way Christian Bale's Batman is with his like supercars.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how this Batman, like his tech, like his Batmobile, is very subtle.
Well,
and even
it
though
goes back to him being a recluse.
Even though a really nice looking 60s Corvette is still a little flashy, it's at the same time
it's a beautiful car.
It is a beautiful car.
Yeah.
So she kind of interrupts Bruce's moment with trying to eavesdrop on this guy talking to himself. And then, she tells him that she's been trying to get a hold of him. He's not returning her messages, so now she really wants to talk to him. Kind of pulls him away from that moment. But while he's being pulled away, there's this shot of the man kind of like staring, like they're having this stare down kind of between each other.
The man knows that this is Bruce Wayne. He talks about how like the mayor's just another dead rich white guy. And he's talking to
and he looks up and
Bruce
he sees
Wayne.
a billionaire in front of him. Right, I get that. But
he doesn't know until she says his name.
It's just the way that they framed that. And I think it was mainly just so we kind of remember the man's face. Because later at Gotham Square Garden, they take his mask off.
He's one of the Riddlers.
He is one of the Riddler...
goons or whatever.
I guess you could call him a goon even though he's not being paid by Riddler. But he believes in... he believes in the cause.
Yeah.
And so I think that the filmmakers wanted us to be able to remember him.
Yeah.
But I don't think I did
No.
the first time I watched this movie.
No, the guy was not memorable.
The time, because this movie's so long, time that you see that guy
from the
funeral to Gotham Square Garden.
You could easily have watched an entire another film. This movie is so fucking long.
Remembering a random character's face that you haven't seen in that amount of time. But you go back and you rewatch and you're like, oh, it's the same guy. I get it.
So one thing about that scene that struck me is that Bella says to Bruce Wayne, you should be doing more for this city. And like, girl.
Do you know who you're talking to?
Fucking girl. He is doing enough for this city. He is going to do so much for this city.
He is.
Like,
And
I know you don't know, but girl.
I know this is a year two recluse Batman. I like, at least the Batman we know, eventually, years down the road, does become a more giving, more public Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, the Bruce Wayne. Actually, I have a quote for that.
The Batman from the animated series was really into charities and helping people with his money. I mean, the Bruce Wayne Foundation alone, or I guess they just call it the Wayne Foundation that his father started, I believe. But he continues to run it, and it is a big charity to the less fortunate.
So Matt Reeves says about Bruce Wayne, he is not yet understanding the asset of being Bruce Wayne could be another kind of mask. He's just not together enough yet to even understand how valuable that's going to be. I was interested in the idea of him being at a stage where he couldn't bear the weight of the history of being part of the Waynes. He might be able to use that as a kind of mask or as a guise, but he can't figure out any way out of that yet.
I like that.
So, I
like the idea of Bruce Wayne not liking being Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
because of the history of being a
especially
Wayne.
once he learns about the history of the Wayne family. I like in this movie that Thomas Wayne is a good person that's flawed. He's not like the perfect angel that is Thomas Wayne in the Nolan series, where he's like a literal fucking like angel on earth. How could he live? He is so good.
Yeah, I'm a billionaire who's also a doctor. And
Who's
I don't-
also perfect.
Like,
who's
I
also
care more about
so handsome.
helping my patients than
Yeah.
I do about money.
Yeah. He's not like that, like on a pedestal, incredible. And he's not a complete asshole like he was in the Joker. He is a good man who cares about his family and his city, but he's flawed and he makes the wrong decisions, and those wrong decisions literally bite him in the ass. And, eventually do haunt his own son. But I find that that's a really kind of wonderful take, because nobody's perfect and flawless, and not everybody is a complete and total scumbag like Thomas Wayne was in the Joker. Which, was kind of nice watching that guy get murdered, because what a piece of shit. I also really enjoy that we didn't get an origin of Batman in this movie. We never had to see those fucking pearls hitting the ground.
We finally
finally
after
don't
all
have to
the
see
Batman movies that came right before this one,
Yeah.
constantly, even Joker, which didn't have Batman, and
Nope.
it had a young
Nope,
Bruce
we
Wayne,
still
and
saw
Thomas
it.
Wayne, and Martha, and all that
Yeah.
stuff, but we still saw the
Fucking pearls.
slow motion pearls. And I also learned, I know this is so random, but I also learned that real pearls are knotted onto the line that they are on. So if pearls are ripped off of your neck, they're going to stay on the line that they're on. They will not scatter everywhere. Cheap pearls scatter everywhere.
Because
But
cheap
because-
pearls are connected to each other. Yeah.
Right. And so it's something about
Martha Wayne not
Martha
wearing
Wayne
real pearls.
married to a billionaire, and I like the idea of maybe Thomas Wayne buying her fake pearls.
No, maybe Homegirl was like, I'm just going to the fucking movies. I'm not going to wear my good pearls. I'm going to wear my fake pearls. Like, every girl,
Yeah.
like, I have real pearls. They are very precious to me. I don't wear them a lot because, like, Caveman gave me pearl earrings for Christmas a few years back. They're beautiful. I have a pearl necklace that's absolutely stunning that I don't wear a whole lot because, again, it's beautiful and it's precious, and the clasp is kind of stupid. But, like, I also have fake pearls. Sometimes if you're going to the movies with your kids and your kid and your husband, you put on the fake ones.
Yeah,
My
sorry.
point going back is that we don't get an origin story for Batman by seeing his parents die, but we kind of do in the mayor's son being the one who finds the mayor's body. And every time that Batman and Bruce Wayne interact with this child, because this child kind of does play a big part throughout the film, there's always this moment where they look at each other, and I kind of feel like the kid understands the sadness in Batman's eyes. And so that is our origin, is watching the mayor's son kind of react to the fact that his father was murdered and he found the body. So we don't get to see Bruce Wayne suffering from all that, but we see the mayor's son. And then you see the kindness and the empathy that Bruce has for that child. And ultimately, at the end of the movie, through the baptism of, Batman, which we will talk about because I absolutely fucking love it. When Batman reaches out to save all these people, everybody's terrified of him, but not that kid. That kid trusts Batman because that kid feels a kindred spirit in Batman, and I find that really fucking beautiful. So I enjoy that that's the origin that we get without getting pearls scattered across the ground.
So the night before the funeral, the DA, Peter Sarsgaard, not Skarsgård, that's a different family.
Peter Sarsgaard.
Peter Sarsgaard.
Who is married to Maggie Gyllenhaal, who played the DA in The Dark Knight and also gets blown up.
Yeah. Catwoman, I believe, narrowly escaped being murdered by the Riddler.
Oh, that is a terrifying moment. Yeah.
She almost goes home with, or not, it's not that she almost went home with the DA. The DA invited her to go home with him.
He's trying to drive her home, even though he just took drugs. And she's like, nah, man, I'm cool. I'm just going to get a taxi and go.
Yeah, she goes home.
Meanwhile,
and he goes,
the Riddler is waiting in the car.
The Riddler is waiting in the back seat. So the next day we're at the funeral, so we don't really know what happened to the DA until you start to hear commotion outside. Which in Gotham should just be like, oh, there's commotion outside.
Yeah, it's us hearing traffic outside of our door. It's just normal, man. You're just like, oh, what? No? White noise?
Car crashes through the church.
Batman saves the little boy.
Yeah, Batman saves the mayor's son, the dead mayor's son, and the DA gets out of the car, and it is revealed that he has a bomb around his neck. All the little gadgets that Riddler used, not only is he very Zodiac Killer, and you can compare this movie to Seven, but there's also a lot of Saw.
Yeah, it's very Saw-esque. Another movie series
all the little
that I've never seen, but I know about.
All the contraptions that he uses around people's necks and the maze that he has.
This guy could have been so brilliant if he just applied his applications to something else.
They send a robot to try and maybe deactivate the bomb or whatever their plan was. But Batman shows up. Many hours have passed by.
Well, he had to put on the eye makeup.
The eye makeup probably takes an hour at least to apply.
Yeah. You gotta be, you gotta blend that shit.
The Riddler has three main riddles for the DA to try to figure out. He gets the first two, actually gets all three, but refuses to actually answer the third question.
One. Yeah, because he knows that it'll hurt his family.
Right, he wants to protect his family. He knows he's going to die. He wants to protect his family. And so he refuses to give up who the rat is and blows up. Mm-hmm. And this also sends Batman flying back and unconscious, which brings us to the scene that we were talking about earlier about Batman punching Commissioner Gordon in the face.
You know what I love about that scene?
What's that?
I mean, of so many things. It's great. It's the meatiest part that Con O'Neill gets in this movie. Con O'Neill, who plays the incredible and beloved Izzy Hands in Our Flag Means Death. If you have not seen Our Flag Means Death, you need to just go watch it right now. Put this thing on pause. It's the most perfect little show about gay pirates, and it will make you laugh, and it will make you cry, and it will break your heart, and you will ugly cry over a seagull, and it's just the most amazing thing. But in it, he plays Izzy Hands, who is kind of the antagonist of season 1 and then the absolute soul of season 2. And he is a tiny man. He is small boy. He is little tiny hobbit full of rage. He is a little tiny Irish hobbit filled with piss and vinegar. And even though he is like a solid foot shorter than Robert Pattinson in the bat suit, he literally goes toe to toe with bats and is so intimidating and is so terrifying.
He gets his face right up in Batman's.
Right up there. Even though he is looking up at Batman, you never once
He's just like, mess with me, I dare you.
Yeah, like fucking come at me. And I love it. Unfortunately, I think that he is one of the people that is corrupt because you don't see him a lot after that point. But, yeah, Con O'Neill, my beloved. Izzy Hands, my beloved.
So he punches Commissioner Gordon in the face.
Yeah.
And according to Batman...
pulled the punch.
Yeah, pulled the punch,
yeah.
Even though must have hurt
like hell.
But the escape of the Batman's escape from the police station...
Oh, my God.
...was an amazing sequence. Him turning his cape into
him using the grappling hook to go up through the stairs. Sure. The cops are running up the stairs like they're going after Batman.
They have some great POV of looking down on Batman first, going up, and then you get to see another POV of what it looks like leaving the ground. Mm-hmm. Really cool.
So excellent.
Camera placement really puts you into the action.
And then he gets up on that ledge.
He gets up to the ledge, and the moment he sees how far up he is, how high up he is. He's just like his
That
breath is
gasp.
taken away. Like
That
this is a Batman who is
gasp.
not used to base jumping.
No.
In Gotham.
This is his first time, presumably, and that little moment of
It
fear
scares the shit out of him a little bit.
It is so beautiful, and it's so quintessential to this particular Batman becoming
A two-year
Batman.
Batman?
Of course he's gonna be fucking afraid.
He hasn't
like
no
what normal
experience.
human being does this? Nobody. And I think that little moment of fear is so beautiful, and it is so important. It's just another step for bats becoming bats, and it is momentary. It is so short that he
knows
afraid
what he needs to do
for
to build
a split second, and then he goes into Batman mode, and he dons the suit, he does whatever, and he fucking jumps. Right.
And it's a great jump.
So I want to tell you something. It is a great jump, and he is just traveling through the air a little too late, and he pulls his parachute much too late, and then he smacks into a bridge and hits a bus, and then hits another car, and then hits the ground and rolls several times, which is so funny to me. It is so ungraceful, and
It's a funny, ungraceful moment, kind of like Christian Bale falling from the fire escape in Batman Begins.
Because, like, baby Batman, he's not always going to be graceful and pretty. That scene where he hits the top of the bus after escaping was filmed on the exact same street that in The Dark Knight, Batman is telling the Joker to hit me.
Trying to hit me and hit me.
Yeah, and then the Joker says hit me.
Oh,
no, you're right. Sorry.
Right before the truck flips.
After the truck flips, it's when the Joker's like, "Come on, hit me," and then Batman's on the Batcycle and he like swerves out of the way to not hit him. Anyways, that was filmed on the same street in Chicago, which I think is very funny. That not only is Chicago a great Gotham, but also
Chicago is often
the best Gotham.
The best is what when they describe Gotham, they're describing Chicago, kind of like Metropolis is New York.
Yeah.
Although
like Gotham should really be
even
New
though
York,
I don't like some of the things I don't like about this movie, which is very few, but I'm a little annoyed that there's a Gotham Square instead of Times Square, and that there's a Gotham Square Garden instead of a Madison Square. Like the New York connections are too heavy. They could have easily
called it anything else.
I like when Batman sticks to the Chicago style rather than New York or even Philadelphia,
oh my God! Here's my thing about Gotham City and all the movies. One of the worst parts about the Christopher Nolan trilogy for me is that Gotham changes every single film. The Batman Begins Gotham is drastically different from the Dark Knight Gotham, which is drastically different from the Dark Knight Rises Gotham. And it annoys me because I think that the Dark Knight Gotham is the perfect Gotham. It is Chicago. It is bright, but it is dark. It is, in the daytime, it's beautiful. At nighttime, it's seedy and scary. I've never been to Chicago myself. I would love to go. I'm not saying that it's seedy and scary, but like this particular Gotham is a great Gotham City, right? But then the Dark Knight comes along and now it's fucking Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And it doesn't look the same, and that
all three
bothers
movies
me.
Look like a different Gotham.
And it bothers
it wasn't
me so much. There's
consistent to the
no
whole trilogy.
continuity for the city. And I think it really took me out. Like, that was one of the reasons why I was so taken out of by the Dark Knight Rises, also because right before I went into it, I heard about the shooting that had happened that opening night in Aurora, Colorado, which took me out of the movie, and then the movie itself took me out of the movie because it is what it is. So I love the Gotham City in this Gotham. It was filmed partially in Liverpool. They put in some digital skylines to make it their own. I didn't brush up with the fact that it was kind of a little New Yorker-y. Because to me, the Gotham City kind of, if you look at the Joker and his Gotham, that is fucking New York in the 70s.
Which I also don't like.
But, so, I get it. I understand your point of view, but I guess for me, I didn't rub up on that too much. But it does, the lack of continuity for Gotham City has always bothered me across all the Batman stories.
My favorite Gotham architecture is definitely from Tim Burton's first Batman. It doesn't change much into Batman Returns, but I always just look at Batman Batman 89. And then because it's based off of Batman 89, Batman the Animated Series keeps that aesthetic,
so
that architecture look.
That Art Deco.
And then Joel Schumacher completely ruined it all.
Well, but yeah, that can be said for Batman in general. So can we talk about the Batmobile chase scene? We were talking about this while we were watching the movie. All the rain in that scene is done in post-production, which is fine. Batman and Gordon go after the Penguin thinking that he's involved somehow. Catwoman appears and she kind of screws everything up. There's a big shootout in which Gordon is the best shot, which I'm not surprised by because he's an excellent cop. But all of this leads to the introduction of the Batmobile, and we are introduced to her by a scream. That thing roaring to life and just screaming into the darkness and into the rain. Like, just take my heart. You have it. It's amazing. And then we are treated to just what I truly believe to be the best Batmobile chase scene in any Batman movie ever. Which is him trying to get the Penguin in the rain, on a busy freeway, sometimes going the wrong way, sometimes going the right way. There's, of course, a perfect ramp that the Batmobile jumps off of because that is one of Batman's special superpowers.
It's creating random ramps that
are perfect for whatever he's on.
Whenever he needs it, there's a ramp.
There's a ramp there. And it is just incredible. The explosion at the end of it, and then, like, there's a giant explosion, and then the Batmobile flies through it. Yes, please. Like, oh my God, give it all to me. And then, the Penguin's car flips, and then we get that incredible point of view shot.
I love that shot of the car rolling from the inside of Penguin's car.
Oh, the point of view shots are so great in this film. And then you see his point of view being upside down of Batman getting out of his car and walking towards him in the rain and the red and
fire.
Oh, the music. It's just so fucking good.
And then he kneels down and puts his head sideways, looks sideways. And it's just so silly because you've never seen Batman do that before.
You've never seen Batman in that. Like, what are you doing down there?
Hey.
Are you hurt?
Were you trying to get away from me?
Fuck, that's an incredible sequence. I told Caveman that I think that this is the best car chase scene in any Batman movie, and he was like, oh, but what about the Dark Knight when the truck flips? And I concur. That is an incredible sequence that took my breath away. But there's something, and maybe we will revisit this when we watch the Dark Knight coming up here in the next few weeks. But I don't know, man. Like, there's something about this fucking car chase. Maybe it's the rain. Maybe it's the music. Maybe it's just how much I fucking love that Batmobile. Because the Tumbler in the Dark Knight is a goddamn armored military vehicle.
Yeah, by the time
it's ridiculous.
By the time you get to that scene, Batman just has the Bat Pod.
Yeah.
With its like.
But doesn't he? He starts out in the Batmobile though, and then he has to go into the Bat Pod because the Batmobile gets.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just saying, it's still.
It's an amazing sequence with him busting out of the shop window.
Yeah, thing the turning
sideways.
And the noise that it makes.
Going up.
He goes up a wall at some point and turns back down.
And playing
I'm not saying it's not great.
Playing chicken with Joker in the truck.
Oh, that truck fucking flips.
That flip.
Gorgeous.
And because
practical.
Yeah, it's practical because it's Christopher Nolan.
Don't get me wrong, incredible. But there's something about this scene that I just love.
No imaginary ramp creating itself.
I don't care. Like, it's so fucking. This chase scene is so beautiful. It's black and it's red and it's rainy and I love it. So, yeah, we'll talk about it again when we watch The Dark Knight here in a few weeks. But to me, right now, as I sit in this chair, I say it's the best chase scene in any Batman movie.
This is an interesting question that I thought of while I was watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Who of the Batman actors, and I'd say I'm talking about people, main actors from Adam West all the way to Robert Pattinson, who've played live-action theatrical Batman, who has the strongest chin and jawline compared to who has the weakest chin and jawline?
Oh,
because
goddamn.
Batman is chosen, the actor is usually chosen for having a pretty strong. I'm not telling you to cheat by looking it up.
I need to, though.
You don't know their chin and jawlines from memory? I do.
You know who would have an incredible jaw for the bat suit?
What's that?
Oscar Isaac. Just give that man a fucking Oscar for his jawline alone.
We'll
like, oh my God.
Later. Personally,
Okay.
I think Michael Keaton probably has a little bit of a weaker chin and jawline.
He definitely does. The suit kind of cuts into the jawline a lot.
Whereas Val Kilmer and George Clooney and Christian Bale all have really strong chins. Like they like stick out.
I did find a picture that is just all of the facial part.
I like that there was a picture of Lego Batman's
is
chin.
in it too, yeah. And I think also Jason Sudeikis in a Batman costume. I don't know exactly why, but he's there. Val Kilmer might have the best lower like half of his face for Batman, because not only does he have an incredible jawline and great like cheek bone structure, but those lips. Oh, those pouty lips of Val Kilmer is just... I
think the Robert Pattinson Batman cowl showed off more of his lower... Like, it went all the way back to almost to his ear.
How do you not know that that's Bruce Wayne?
These guys have such defined jaws and chins that...
I'd be able to point that out in a
There aren't
heartbeat.
other people in the world that have this kind of facial structure. So, of course, it's Bruce Wayne.
So... Ben Affleck also has a very impressive jawline, because he's got that
He's
dimple
got the
chin,
dimple in the chin, yeah.
and he also has a mole on his cheek, which I feel like if
you're Bruce, you need to have that removed.
If
you're
you are any
slight
Batman fan, you look at that mole and go, "Oh, that's the same fucking guy." They're the same fucking guy, because it's placed in the same place, and that butt chin is too. It's too similar, right? It's too vivid. It's too memorable. Christian Bale in the Batman cowl kind of reminds me of the mouth of Sauron in The Return of the King. The mouth is very flat. The lips are very flat. The chin is very flat. There's not a lot of depth or change. Whereas, like, you know, Clooney's got that great chin, but those, like, thin lips. And Kilmer's got those thick lips and the great chin, and then the butt chin. And then even Pattinson's got, like, he's got a good chin and he's got the stubble, right? Christian Bale's is just kind of bland. It would be harder to tell that Bruce Wayne is Batman for Christian Bale, because it hides a lot more versus, like, I feel like Val Kilmer and Ben Affleck and George Clooney's are a lot more recognizable because he's got that chin, you know. But yeah, every time I see Christian Bale in the cowl, I just think of the mouth of Sauron.
Visually, one of my favorite scenes, it's not even a scene, it's a moment, but it's when Batman is fighting those guys with machine guns in the dark hallway. Yes. And you get that strobing effect from their machine guns going off.
And just every time you see the light, he's closer. The first time that Batman ninja dusts Commissioner Gordon, like they're in the old Wayne Manor, and Gordon is like watching the video playing on the screen and talking, and then he turns and Batman is gone. And which is one of my favorite long-running gags about Batman, is the amount of times he just fucking nopes out.
He just disappears without saying, he's just gone.
And Gordon's response is just, "Hey."
Yeah.
It's
like
probably
the first time that's happened.
It's
just like
so funny. Hey. I love it.
You can imagine, like, 10, 15 years, Gordon's used to it by now.
He's over it.
He's just like, whatever, I'm used to Batman just disappearing and not saying goodbye.
So eventually we come to find out that Falcone is the Rat, and he's the cause of all of these terrible things that have happened to both Selina Kyle and to the Riddler and to an extent Batman. And he's finally taken out into the light and is murdered by the Riddler. And I believe there was Honest Trailers that pointed out the fact that nobody... Because the Riddler sends a bunch of these almost paparazzi-esque, these secretly taken photographs of outside the bar that is owned by the Penguin and Falcone. And nobody thought to, like, try to figure out where those photos were taken from. Because they were all taken from the same angle, and nobody was like, wait a minute. Isn't that apartment up there? I'm just saying, it's funny, because if you think about it after the fact, you're like, all of these photos were taken from the same place. Why wouldn't you go try to figure out where that place was? So the Riddler gets captured, and the big final act of this movie happens. This is a long movie. There's a lot of ends that need to be tied up. There's a few loose ends, which are fine. But ultimately, like, this whole movie has been a detective noir film of who's the Rat and who's the Riddler, and, you know, how is the Batman played into this, because the Riddler thinks the Batman is helping him, not trying to find him. And there's all this, like, it's this great noir film. And then it goes into a Batman movie where the city is in trouble and Batman has to save it. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. That's a wonderful thing. But it definitely tacked on another 40 minutes to a very long movie.
Yeah, we went from a Seven and Zodiac killer kind of movie to
a Batman movie.
Now we're going into a Batman movie, which it's been a Batman movie the whole time, and this is who Batman is. He is this.
But it definitely goes in, like, the final act is, and I can't even say it's the third act, it's like the fifth act, is very comic booky, and I'm totally okay with that. I absolutely adore the scene where Batman is in the prison talking with the Riddler. He's at Arkham Asylum talking to Riddler, and he thinks that the Riddler knows who he is.
Just in his eyes, like,
yeah,
as
there's
soon
a
as
sadness.
as
in
soon
him.
as soon as the Riddler says Bruce Wayne,
yeah,
his reaction to that is like, oh shit,
yeah.
I've been figured out. He
and
knows
he's
I'm Bruce Wayne.
hiding in the dark, and his body language is very, like, stiff and solemn, and he's just letting the Riddler talk. Because he thinks that the Riddler knows that he's Bruce Wayne. And he also thinks that this whole thing is done. And so the last thing he says to Gordon is, you're a good cop. He wanted Gordon to know how much he appreciated him and all the hard work that they've done for the last 2 years. And I found that lovely. He's standing in that interrogation room thinking that his secret's about to get out. And he's sad about it. He's sad to be losing this Batman thing. I don't even think he realizes the shit that he would get into if people found out. He's just sad to know that it's ending. And then the second that he realizes that the Riddler doesn't know his identity, oh, the relief in his eyes and his face. It is such a beautifully played moment by Robert Pattinson.
That's some amazing Robert Pattinson acting right there.
Yeah, and I think that whole scene is incredible. It does mirror to an extent the deleted scene that they released a couple weeks later after the movie came out, where the Batman is talking to the Joker, played by Barry Keoghan. And although that scene is intense and incredible, I'm really glad that it wasn't in the movie in the end.
It is a nice...
It's a great scene.
It's a fun scene to watch
yeah.
on its own, but I'm so glad it wasn't in the movie. Yeah.
I love the reveal eventually of the Joker in the movie. I think it's fantastic. The Riddler, he's put bombs all around the seawall of Gotham City. The city floods, right? But we see the ultimate flooding of the city is that the water is about waist high. If the Riddler really wanted to kill all the, like, rich and powerful people by flooding the city, all those people are already up in their tall towers anyways, like, looking down on this happening. They're safe 20 stories up. It's all the people in, like, fucking parasite sub-basements that are fucked.
The Riddler's plans were, first, he had two steps. First, kill the corrupted. Get rid of the corrupted cops, politicians. Yeah. Second step, kill the citizens of Gotham. Doesn't matter if they're rich or poor. He didn't care. He wanted to eliminate chaos. It wasn't even more for chaos. It was essentially wiping the slate clean and starting fresh and creating a new Gotham. And he wanted he thought him and Batman were doing this together. Yeah. The whole time he was under the impression that he was the mastermind behind everything and Batman was helping him do it.
Yeah, the Riddler is the brains and Batman was the brawns. Right. Even though, like, he never decided to talk to Batman first about this.
It was all in the riddles and it was all in
his head.
He also didn't know, and obviously he didn't know who Batman was. He didn't know he was Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Riddler would have had a whole nother plan in place if he had known that Batman
because the Riddler tries to kill Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of Bruce Wayne because he's the son of a corrupt politician, according to him. So yeah, his plan wasn't just to kill the rich; it was to kill the citizens of Gotham after killing the corrupt. So
everybody ends up in Gotham Square Garden, in which the movie turns into a proper Batman movie, which shows us Batman's true superpower, which is being an overdramatic little bitch. Oh, I love the way that Batman smoke bombs his way in and out of things. I just love when he blows the entire ceiling up, let alone not caring about all the people below him and all the falling glass.
He made one hell of an entrance.
He made one hell of an entrance.
And he's always dramatic about
it. That bitch lives for the drama, and I love it. I love my little, like, overdramatic Batman. Ugh, he's my soul. We get to see him use a smoke bomb and, like, take out a bunch of so the Riddler has a bunch of his goons, his mercenaries, his followers, up in the catwalks of this, arena, shooting at people, shooting at the mayor, shooting at, anybody they can. And Batman's there to stop it. Batman gets shot a lot, but he bounces back from all of them for the most part until one guy tries to shoot him in the face. And he's stopped by Catwoman, and then he strangles Catwoman and this whole thing. But this is leading me to, what does Batman inject himself with?
Well, the theory is that he injects himself with venom. And it's only because the liquid that he injects himself with is green.
Yes.
And it gives him a
surge of power.
A surge of power, but not only power, but also...
anger?
Violent anger. They call it rage.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rage drug.
Everybody thinks it's venom because it's green.
And this obviously, for those that don't know, is what gives Bane all of his strength and why he's so angry all the time.
The ultimate roid rage. But the creators of the movie itself are like, no, it's adrenaline. They shouldn't have colored it green.
Why is it green?
Well, it was a choice.
Adrenaline's not green.
Kind of like the idea of it being adrenaline and that his base reaction is anger because he beats the shit out of that guy. In fact, it is Gordon that has to stop him from murdering that guy. Because in that moment, I don't think that Bats has control of his senses well enough to know what he's doing other than just punching the shit out of that dude. If it was Venom, I feel like it would have lasted longer. Because I think as soon as Gordon shakes him out of it, he comes back and he becomes his own Batman again.
Bane has tubes in his back and neck and head that are constantly feeding venom to him. That's how he stays. Because he's just constantly getting it. I am the means of your devastation,
Batman.
I was born in the darkness. You merely adapted to it.
Batman standing on top of the Jumbotron and looking down at all these people in this arena that's flooding, right? Like this place is flooding. These people need help. And there's a live wire that is dangerously close to dropping into the water.
And electrocuting everybody that's trying to hide in.
And there is an immediate and just selfless sacrifice. He literally just, without a second thought, and this is when he becomes Batman, it is a selfless and immediately sacrifice of his life for Gotham when he jumps off of the Jumbotron onto the wire, cuts it with the knife gun that killed his parents, and then falls into the water.
Gets electrocuted he cuts it because it's a live wire. He electrocutes himself. Mm-hmm. Falls
into the water to be born again as our Lord and Savior Batman. That baptism is, is it on the nose? Absolutely.
Absolutely is.
Did I love every single second of it?
Absolutely.
Fuck yes, I did. Oh my God, it's so good. And everybody down there, we've already talked about how everybody's afraid of him, but the kid's the only one that was who trusts him, and because the kid trusts him, everybody else.
Batman did save that kid's life earlier.
Well, Bruce Wayne saved his life. He doesn't know that Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same person. But that moment is so beautiful. And then the red light against the black and them walking through the water. I fucking cry. It's beautiful. This movie deserved an Oscar for that scene alone. It was so good. The baptism of Batman, if I were to get a full back piece tattoo, it might be that. I wouldn't, actually. But it's tempting.
Him pulling the old mayor's son, helping the old mayor and new mayor, essentially.
In that moment, he's foregoing vengeance. He's foregoing fear to become the hope and the light of Gotham. He becomes something greater in that moment. And then we see him on top of Gotham Square Garden, carrying a wounded child in his arms to help the paramedics get her to safety. And there's that incredible scene where she's afraid and she grabs his arm and he comforts her and lets her hold on to him, and he holds on to the basket that's being airlifted, which, by the way, would be one of my biggest fucking fears, is being airlifted and something like that. But still.
Don't watch Deep Blue Sea.
No, I don't plan on it. Yeah, just seeing Batman become what he has been this whole movie, which is this agent of darkness and vengeance and brutality, and then he becomes this, he literally kills that old part of him and is reborn in something that is hopeful and bright, and Batman is in the light now, and I love it. I eat that shit up like it is bad popcorn in a movie theater. I cannot get enough of it. I love every second of it. I know there are a lot of people that don't like it. I think there are some people out there that are like, fuck, another Batman movie, why? But if Batman movies are always going to be like this, give me all of them. It's just it's funny, it's entertaining, it's beautiful. I fucking love this film.
Once he gets everybody to safety, the movie's over. There's still some scenes between him and Catwoman, but before that, we get Barry Keoghan. Even though in the moment we don't know that it's him, we can hear the voice, but you can't really see the face.
No.
Not the way you get to see him later in that that later
scene.
release scene, but you do get this. You do get a scene of the Joker talking to the Riddler, and I really love, especially after Saltburn, I have become such a Barry Keoghan fan.
Watching this movie in the theater, we had no fucking clue who this guy was. I mean, I don't think I really even clocked who he was as an actor before I watched the Eternals, and he was the only good part. Him and the deaf girl that he's like best friends with in that movie, and Brian Tyree Henry are the only good parts about the Eternals. That movie is such a sack of shit. But I remember sitting in that freezing cold theater watching this terrible Marvel movie going, what the fuck? Oh, he's pretty good, though. And he's kind of cute. I'm into that. So, like, yeah, not knowing... Like, knowing now that it's Barry Keoghan kind of makes him being the Joker all the more fun and, like, exciting. Like, I would love to see his version of the Joker. At the time, I was just like, who the hell is this guy? He's incredible.
As much as I really enjoy the scene that was later released with just Barry Keoghan, as the Joker, I think he, if they go forward with him as a Joker villain for part 2, part of me is going to be a little bummed by that. As much as I like him and his portrayal as Joker. Is it because
we've seen the Joker too much?
We've seen the Joker so many times.
Yeah.
This would be the 4th Joker just in 5th. This would be the 5th Joker in film.
Yeah.
If you count the Lego Batman, and there's a lot of Jokers.
There's been a lot of Jokers.
Yeah, I get it. It's one of Batman's.
He's Batman's.
It's Batman's
foil. It's the other side of his coin.
You know, he's the top villain.
But Batman has so many other. Incredible.
His rogues gallery is
so good.
Thick. It's such a big gallery.
It's as thick as that Batcock that I was talking about earlier.
Boy. So for Batman Part 2, I'd really like to see somebody else be a villain this time. Somebody that we've never seen.
So you don't even want to see a Two-Face?
We've seen Two-Face a lot too.
And
that's the problem.
How do you improve upon the Two-Face from The Dark Knight? Because Aaron Eckhart did such a fucking great job.
Christopher Nolan did a great job.
And, the way that half his face is literally missing. Like,
and it looks so good. Like
that CG is impeccable.
The effects on his face were so well done. So I don't really want to see a Two-Face. I don't want to see Joker.
Who do you want to see, Caveman?
If they did, and I know Arnold played him already, but if they did
a better Dr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze needs to look. Definitely don't copy
the Schwarzenegger Freeze.
The Schwarzenegger version.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
There is a version where you could do a really, like, keep it in that world where somebody is in some kind of
realistic,
almost
sort
like
of
a
Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, like an Iron Lung type Mr. Freeze that's very mechanical
and terrifying.
At the same time. You could do a really good job of Mr. Freeze. Another character I'd really like to see that goes more for the animated series that's on HBO is there's a Harley Quinn animated series.
Which is phenomenal.
I think a Poison Ivy that was like that Poison Ivy.
Yes.
In a more serious Batman film, like what...
So in other words, you just want to see Batman and Robin again?
I do want to see Batman and Robin
again.
But
done better.
But done so much better. I don't need Robin, though.
No.
I want a Robin movie someday, and I know Robin wants a Robin movie.
Because it's his movie. His superhero movie.
And he deserves it, but we need an Alfred movie, and we need a Batmobile movie.
And then we need a Bat Belt movie.
The Bat Belt.
Man, guys, if you have not seen Teen Titans Go to the Movies, it is one of the best superhero films ever made. Yes, it's animated. Yes, it's Teen Titans Go, but fuck is it great. And the music slaps harder than it should.
Either that or Calendar Man. Or Condiment Man. One or the other.
I love Clayface in the Harley Quinn animated series. He's voiced by Alan Tudyk. He's so goofy, just this big lumbering little dork, and I adore him. I think that Alan Tudyk should be in a Batman movie, like a live-action Batman movie, playing a villain. I think he'd be spectacular at that.
Alan Tudyk
could be Clayface.
He could be Clayface.
An incredible Clayface.
one of the last shots of the movie is Batman and Catwoman driving
left and right.
their motorcycle. Well, driving their motorcycles first through the cemetery. And every time I see that scene now, I know that the stunt rider on the motorcycle, on Batman's motorcycle, crashed it and kind of ruined it a little bit, and they had to like repair it because he crashed it.
I remember when that
It was this big
happened.
thing in the news about Batman crashing his motorcycle.
So I remember seeing like that footage of that happening, right? And the stuntman in that costume to me looked like Ben Affleck. And I remember seeing that and going, oh shit, what are we in for? Like, this looks too much like the Batfleck Batman. And because this was supposed to be the Batfleck Batman, way back in the early development, it was supposed to be Ben Affleck's Batman movie. And then Matt Reeves took over, and then things happened. We got the Batman. But seeing the footage of that guy in that costume was like, fuck, he looks just like Batfleck. And so it bothered me a little bit. Yeah, I too always think about that moment that like, oh yeah, that guy crashed and fucked up a huge and expensive prop. I like that at the end when they're at the crossroads, she leaves and goes left. She left.
Uh-huh.
And he goes right. Because that's the right thing for him to do. But there's that brief moment where he watches her in the rearview mirror, and there's a look of longing and sadness on his face, implying that like he wants to go with her, but he can't. And so he gives himself a moment to watch her leave, and then the steel resolve of Batman flashes through Robert Pattinson's eyes, and he goes forward as Batman for Gotham City, and that's how the movie ends, with the swelling of the music, and it's incredible. I fucking love this movie so much.
So a lot of times camera placement creates this feeling for you when you're watching it, and really shows power and weakness depending on the angle.
Mm-hmm.
So when a camera is pushed really in, like really close to your face, that's more powerful than the camera being further away from your face. When a camera is down low and shooting up at your face, it creates power because you're tall and overlooking the viewers, and so that's a powerful camera angle. Whereas somebody looking up at a camera is more weak because it makes them look small. And
it's literally Batman versus Izzy Hands. Batman who's over 6 foot tall, and Izzy Hands who is minuscule, tiny boy.
The same is done a lot of times in film. A character moving from left to right is more powerful than right to left. And so a lot of times heroes will go to the right side of the camera, villains will go to the left.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's done all the time and it's just like a hard rule.
Or if that was just like early film magic.
It is something that's still done occasionally. And just like the camera up high or down low or close in or pulled out.
It's also kind of like how the Fellowship always walks from the left-hand scene to the right until they're done in Mordor and the ring is destroyed, and then that's one of the first times we ever see the Hobbits moving from right to left.
I don't think I ever noticed that.
They're literally on a journey, so the entire time they're traveling from left to right until they're done with that journey and they're going home.
If you look at a map of Middle Earth, the Hobbiton's on the left and Mordor's on the right, so they do have to go from left to right.
Yeah, that's something that's established very early on in the Fellowship and has continued.
This is why I love movies so much.
This is why I love you so much.
But that's essentially Batman.
Yeah.
This is a long episode.
This is a long... I hope you guys have stuck with us because it's a lengthy one. We've been recording for over 2 hours now. This is how much we just
love... This is what Maggie and I do. We get into conversations about...
Batman.
Especially Batman and other superheroes and Star Wars. And
one of the reasons we started this podcast is because we've had so many deep, intellectual, passionate, emotional conversations about Batman. From the beginning of back when we were friends before we were even married. Like, this is something that has been a part of our relationship for so long, is Batman. And we have a deep, unabided love for it. I mean, you could hear it in the Joker. Like, you know, you could hear how much we love the Batman. This is our first time talking about Bruce Wayne and Batman and in reality and how much we just fucking love him. And so, yeah, this is a long episode. And if you've stuck with us this long, bless you. It's great. And I love this film. I'm going to go into my ratings now. Personally, like, this movie is easily a 4.5 for me. It's not perfect, but fuck do I love it. Fuck do I love this movie. And when I rate this movie on the Letterboxd list, it's going to go above Interstellar. It might even go above Barbie. I might love this movie more than I love Barbie because it's just such a fun and great Batman movie. Sure, it's 9.5 hours long, just like this podcast, but I don't care because I want to live in that world. I want to know everything. I adore the fact that so many of the scenes in this movie could have been cut for time. Matt Reeves lingers in the moments to make you uncomfortable, to make you feel your feelings. Like, this movie's phenomenal and it's great. It's easily a 4.5 for me. I could give it 5 stars, but I feel like I would have to somehow, I don't know, answer for that. So yeah, 4.5 easily. I fucking love the Batman. Caveman?
I'm going to give this film an even 4 stars.
It would have been really funny if you'd have said like 1 star and had me react to that.
Hated this movie.
I would have spit beer all over you and all of our podcasting equipment.
Oh, please don't. No, 4 stars, an even 4 stars. And I'm only saying that, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I am saving my 4.5 for The Dark Knight.
That's fair.
And yes, there's nothing that says I can't have them both be 4.5.
No.
There's no reason 2 Batman movies.
Like, it's very possible that.
But I
the
really
Dark Knight's
have to. This is my way of really showing which one I like more than the other.
And that's fair and understandable. The Dark Knight is a flawless film. It is incredible. I mean, I haven't seen it in ages, and just off the top of my head, I could come up with 10 scenes that are jaw-droppingly incredible. There's just something about. I think I knew that I was going to love The Dark Knight going into it. I think I knew that because of Batman Begins, because it's Christopher Nolan, because I was seeing it with you, like that movie was going to be fucking amazing, and it is, and it holds up. I don't think I had a lot of expectation for this film, and I went into it just being like, I'll watch any Batman. Like, sure, it's a Batman movie. I'm going to watch it. And I walked out just being like, yes, motherfucker, that's the best Batman. So I think it was something about how well surprised I was by it, how much thought I've put into it. I wrote 10.5 pages of notes for this movie. That is the most I've written for any of them so far. And I didn't even talk about half the things that I wanted to talk about. I was going to passionately defend Bruce Wayne to my death for this podcast. But no, I respect that. And maybe after watching The Dark Knight, maybe my tone will change. But 4, I respect that. I think that's a solid choice.
So, Maggie.
Yes, Caveman.
I've got 2 questions for you.
Yay!
First question, if y'all know. It's an easy one, and it's usually the same answer every time. But I'm going to ask it anyway, because sometimes it's not. Would the addition of Oscar Isaac in this movie have made The Batman better?
I think I'm going to shock you by saying no.
That is shocking.
Well, so this is hard because yes, Oscar Isaac being in the Batman would have made me love the Batman more, for sure. Because I just would have been staring at his face, his perfect, gorgeous jawline. Oh my god, it would have been amazing.
He could be a Batman.
Oh, and don't think I don't want that with all of my soul. Everybody is so good in this film that I don't know if taking anybody out and putting Oscar Isaac in would have made
it's a solid
it
cast.
better. It's a solid cast.
All right, and then the second question, Maggie. I know you said Oscar Isaac's presence may not have made the movie better, but if he was in it, which character would you want him to play?
I think he could probably have easily replaced Peter Sarsgaard and been the DA. You know, a short part, a kind of beefy part. You know, he's there. He's kind of creepy to Selena. He gets attacked by the Riddler. He gets blown up by the Riddler. Like, that would have been a nice, like, good, like, beefy, small Oscar Isaac role. But Peter Sarsgaard was so good in that role that I couldn't imagine replacing him. I would have hated to see him be in any of the goons that got beat up by Batman, because how could you destroy that perfect face?
I was kind of thinking he'd be an interesting Falcone.
He could have been interesting, a little young. Way too young.
I think he's got some age on Zoe Kravitz's character.
He could have brushed up the silver in his hair. But as much as I love Oscar Isaac's most perfect face, I just don't see how we could have shoehorned him into the Batman to make it any better. And I'm okay with that. Not everything needs Oscar Isaac to be incredible, but everything Oscar Isaac does is incredible. And that, folks, if you've made it this long, is The Batman and our reaction to a movie that we love so much. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please let us know. By all means, only a few of you have reached out to talk to us about our little show, and we'd love to hear from all of you. Please give us 5 stars on all the podcast platforms, or, give us honest reviews and honest feedback if that's what you feel like you need to do. We accept that. That's okay. Join us next week where we will be watching Pulp Fiction, a movie I have not seen in years, and I'm not particularly too fond of, so that should be a fun one to see how I react to that. And don't forget that coming up soon on May the 4th, we will be dropping our first big bonus episode where Caveman and I talk Star Wars. And if you think this Batman episode was long, just you wait. You can follow us on Instagram at movieminglepod. You can follow us on Letterboxd at movieminglepod to see how I rate all of these movies personally. You can also email us at movieminglepod@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for letting us into your ears this week. And now go mingle, friends. See you later.
Are you an effective team?
We are an effective team.
Let them fight.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Here on Caladan, we rule by air power and sea power. On Arrakis, we need to cultivate desert power.
Welcome, Mr. Beach. What's that bar? I'm a little confused.
Well, we wouldn't want that, would we?
I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Toga, 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 toga.